Hi, this is Kerry Artak with wickedstocks.com, bringing you your weekly update in Bitcoin, a free analysis we provide on our Wicked Stocks YouTube channel. And I'm going to jump right into it. This is for the week, by the way, of Monday, January 19th, 2026. We have this 5-year channel top that we took out over a year ago, November of 24. We came crashing back down to it during the what I call the tough tariff talk in the early Trump administration. This was like February into April of 25. We never closed back below this structure, despite all the spikes below it that maintained the likelihood for upward continuation longer term. The next long-term resistance we'd mentioned at that time, 122,433. A minus B plus A, the full wave count, an exhaustion point for just about any market, especially on the longer term charts. 122,433. We tested it a lot, as you can see, from July of last year. The last test was October, and since then we've collapsed back to this channel top at 86,954. Now, I kind of squinting here. I don't think we've actually ever closed back below it yet again. But what is of equal, if not greater significance now, is not just 86,954, but a rising channel bottom that we've also mentioned all along that can contain selling pressures on a quarterly, possibly annual basis. And that is a really now almost a 3-year structure. 85,513 this week. You can combine the two as a bottom picking territory, 85,513 to 86,954, that can absorb selling not only through the rest of the first quarter, but even into later 26. And from here, we can rally back to 122,433 over the next, I've been saying 3 to 5 months. If we can close this week above 95,954, and this is an area that we tested last week, did not close above, that is nothing more than the high of the low following the collapse, closing, and after testing long-term support, closing above the high of the low is our next go with buy signal on strength. You can bottom pick away the mid 80,000 area, but if you're reluctant to buy on weakness and buying on strength is your game, which is a lot of people's strategy, closing above 95,945 is the pull away factor to the upside. Then anticipating within 1 to 3 weeks, depending on volatility, 103,415 is a 50% upside retracement. Within 2 months or so, 113,105, that is the low of the all-time high. And yes, within 2 to 3 months of closing above 95,945, I would anticipate this 122,433, which I consider to be a 3 to 5 month likelihood anyway, above 85,513. But if we close above 95,945, let's call it 2 to 3 months where we can double top again. Now, overall, longer term, as I've been saying, holding above that 85,513 formation will keep its sister channel top, 136,586 in reach, possibly by the end of 26. This is a longer-term play. This is what is possible by the end of 26. Holding above 85,513 does maintain the integrity of a 3-year bull market in Bitcoin. If, however, we close below 85,513, we enter a 3 to 5 week sell signal down to 77,629. This is a near-term swing trade. Trend line off these highs. We tested it back in April. It held. It can hold again on a weekly, possibly monthly basis. But I will say, as I've been saying now for some months, that if we do close below 85,513, longer-term position holders, unless you want to suffer a downdraft all the way back into the upper 50,000 region over the following 3 to 5 months or sooner, I would exit your Bitcoin investment. If you can play the short side in investment, whatever that means to you, feel free, down to 57,400. I call this a 3 to 5 month or sooner, probably sooner, within a couple, 2, 3 months of closing below 85,513. 57,400 is sort of the granddaddy of trend structures. This goes back to December of 17. This is almost 10 years. I mean, in December of this year, it will be 9 years anyway. 57,400. Long-term support for Bitcoin. It is the base of long-term support, above which the relevance of Bitcoin as a tradable speculative entity remains firmly intact as we move through the rest of the decade. And I've been saying, I don't mean to be too dramatic here. If in the coming months we were to close below 57,400, I think it fades into oblivion as a tradable entity or as a shiny object within the world of speculative instruments. So, but until then, yes, holding above 85,513, we just tested long-term support, and we can round back up from here into the lower 120s over the next 3 to 5 months, and by the end of the year, into the mid 130s and climbing. I'm going to leave it at that for this week's update in Bitcoin. I'll be back in a week with next week's, and you have a great week.